Please welcome Victoria Tsai, Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Tatcha.
Hi, everybody. I've never talked to a group so big before. I'm used to going QVC, but normally it's just this like box. And I pretend there was nobody on the other side of that box. So please be nice, and please ask questions in the end. So my name is Vicky, and I got really burned out one day. I used to work for the big companies, and about a decade into it, I ended up with acute dermatitis and also just ready for a different approach to beauty and to life. And so I started traveling, and I found myself in Japan. And that's when I met someone who changed my life, and he's a taxi driver. His name is Tsai, and my hotel assigned him to me to take me around to Kyoto, show me around. I was pregnant, I didn't have much money, I didn't speak the language. By the way, I'm not Japanese. I always tell everybody that. I was born in Missouri, I grew up in New Jersey, and my parents are from Taiwan. And so he took me to these beautiful temples, and at every temple I threw up because I was pregnant. And halfway through the day, he brought me home, and I went to bed. And then in the afternoon, I got up, and there was a package waiting for me downstairs. And instead of picking up another ride, he had gone home and burned a CD of every photo that he had ever taken of Kyoto. And he said, since you couldn't see Kyoto, I brought Kyoto to you. And that's when I fell in love with Japan. And he introduced me to a concept called omotenashi. And if you're familiar with Japanese culture, it's often described as hospitality, but that doesn't begin to describe what it is. It's really about the selfless act of making someone else's happiness your happiness. And all of Japanese culture, all of Japanese care is built on this concept, and I thought, how refreshing. So then I started seeing Kyoto. Who's been to Kyoto? Anybody? It's amazing, right? So they call it the city of 2,000 temples, but there's actually more than 2,000 temples. And it's a place where beauty and magic and artistry is still so much alive. And it's there that I ended up meeting a geisha. Does anybody know what geisha means in Japanese? It means artist. So she's not a concubine. She never has been. We have miscast her in the Western world because we don't have an equivalent. But in addition to being a trained stage performer, she is also the ultimate embodiment of omotenashi. When you are with a geisha, and it's very, very hard to meet them, they make you feel like the most special person in the world. And it's coming from a really genuine place. And it taught me so much about beauty and grace and elegance that I felt that as a woman in the US that I was really missing in my life. So we know her for iconic stage makeup. They wore this makeup because they would perform by candlelight hundreds of years ago, and this is how you could see them. But that white makeup accentuates every flaw on the skin, as you can imagine. Like when you paint a white wall, if there's a crack or a bump, it makes it look worse. This is what they look like underneath their makeup. So this is an iPhone photo that I took, and Kyoka is in her 20s in this photo, but she has no foundation, no concealer, there's no Facetunes here. She did her brows, her eyes, and her lips, and aside from that, that's just what their skin looks like. And the geisha, the older geisha in this picture here with me, she's retired, but she was in her mid-70s when I took this photo. And that's just what their skin looks like. So I thought, I'll have what she's having. And I started using what they used, and it gave me my skin back. I think I forgot to mention, at that point, I had had acute dermatitis for 3 years. So my entire face had been bleeding, blistering, scaling, my lips, my eyelids, and I had been on oral and topical steroids and antibiotics, and the doctors said, this is your face. I was never a pretty girl growing up. Nobody ever asked me to prom, but I had good skin. And then for 3 years, I didn't want to look anybody in the face. And then I started using what they were using, and it gave me my face back, but also it gave me my confidence back, and it also made me realize how intimate and important skincare is for women. I took it for granted until then. So I sold my engagement ring and my car and my furniture, and I worked 4 jobs. And they weren't sexy jobs. It was like being a super for my building. And I started doing research. And I ended up realizing that the reason that we've known that geisha are beauty icons for 300 years, but we never knew what they did, is because they don't write it down. They teach through oral tradition. But one time in 1813, it was written down, and it wasn't for them or by them. It was because they were the it girls of their time, and other women wanted to be like them. So this one enterprising writer wrote down in 3 volumes and 7 chapters what they were doing. And skincare is chapter 1. So we got it, and we translated it, and we started bringing it back to life. The first thing that we did while we were still in my garage was find some of the most amazing scientists in the US, in Japan. And they came out of retirement for us. And we started building these formulas from scratch again, like a couture dress. And we would go down to the same places, to the same bays. And the purity was so important to me because at that point I was pregnant and then soon thereafter gave birth. In fact, I gave birth the day that we launched into retail with my first product. This is my daughter. And I would stare at her and I would think, all I want is that skin. And so the good news is 300 years ago when geisha first started taking care of their skin and other Japanese women were taking care of their skin, there was no Sephora, there was no L'Oreal, there was no QVC. They went to their kitchen, and what was within reach was the basis of their beauty ritual. So green tea, rice, seaweed, the Japanese diet is also the basis of their skincare. These are superfoods, and your skin is just your body's largest organ. So the same thing that takes care of your body is what takes care of your skin. What we started doing is going down to the same bays and the same provenances where all of these ingredients have been treasured for centuries and saying, what is it that makes it so potent and special? So this, for example, is an indigo field. Japanese indigo has wonderful anti-inflammatory properties for the skin, and so we started working on it. This is a gross picture, but this is my hand on the left and the right. So somebody in my office started calling it my dinosaur hand because I get eczema head to toe, and it gets really, really, really bad. And I put that Japanese indigo on, and the other picture is my hand the next day. So it's not just about these beautiful stories and these timeless rituals and traditions. It's about efficacy. So Barney's was the first place to give us a chance, and that was our first merchandising unit. It was just a few of us, Brad, wherever you are, in my garage, and so we stuck my child on the floor, and she was our first salesperson. She would say, come try Tatcha, and you can see the salespeople behind her giving her the stink eye. And we also started with our own .com because we felt in our hearts that digital and e-commerce was going to be one of the most important ways for us to bring a very nuanced and rich and deep story to clients in a meaningful way. And we were so deeply grateful for every order that we got, and we still are, that we started writing them letters. And we put every letter in a package to a customer, and we wanted every package that showed up to feel like a gift. And then amazingly, they started writing back. And this became the beginning of a long and beautiful relationship of sharing. And what I found is that when you talk to people about their skin, and you ask them about their skin, they very rarely tell you about their skin. They first tell you about their life. So if I say, tell me about your skin, they'll say, I'm a cancer survivor. I'm pregnant. I just lost a baby. I'm not sleeping. I might lose my job. I'm going to graduate soon. The good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, it's just life. And then they'll say, therefore my skin is doing this. Because they understand instinctively that their skin is a reflection of their soul. So when you take care of someone's skin, you take care of their soul. And that is an honor, and it is a great responsibility. So we were very lucky that the media was very kind to us, and Women's Wear Daily is one of the very first to believe in us. Thank you so much. And then this amazing thing called QVC found us. And at first when we went on there, there was a big question mark. Are we niche? Back when we were starting out, Asian skincare was not cool yet. K-beauty had not showed up. We're not K, but we're very glad they're here. But Asian beauty hadn't been cool for a long time. But QVC was amazing. And we went from being a brand that delivered our orders in my baby carriage. There's no baby under there. To this was my house with our first QVC order. The entire house was like this. I finally moved out to a motel. Then we took over the neighborhood. Then we took over the warehouses. Now we have warehouses across the country in 2 countries. But don't tell my mom and my daughter because they still help out. And I told them that we still need their help, and I don't pay them. And then ink came along, and we were shocked to find out that because we had tripled in growth every year for the first handful of years, we ended up being one of the fastest growing companies in America. That was surprising. And then Sephora. So Sephora was actually one of the very first retailers to ever believe in us, but we weren't big enough to be able to be a good partner to them until the end of 2015. So we were so proud when we had this first little merchandising unit, and that turned into this. In the beginning, when we first went out, it was hard because we would tell people about this amazing experience that we've had and this amazing journey and the work that we're doing. We say, we build these formulas from scratch. Everything is custom. Everything is made in Japan. We did this with our full hearts. And oftentimes the response was, that sounds pretty niche. You know, I'm sure there's a handful of people in the country who will like that, but not that many. And sometimes we still hear that. But it always makes us laugh when we do because thanks to partnerships with amazing retailers like Sephora and QVC and Barney's, what we found out is that there's nothing niche about making people feel special and taken care of and beautiful from the inside out. So I found out yesterday that we had the #1 skincare SKU on Sephora.com last month with a cream that was out of stock for most of the month. We had a TSV on Friday that I'm still sort of tired from, but we sold out. And what I loved about both of these things is that it just shows that there's nothing small about making people feel real and seen and heard and beautiful. And then the influencers came along. And so you guys all know Patrick Starr, but if you had asked me before, would people like Patrick find a concept like ours interesting? I would have said, I doubt it, but maybe, I hope so. And so it's really been social media and our clients talking about us on social media that has also been a key part of our growth. So what can I share with you that'll be remotely helpful? Because hopefully there weren't too many other classical Japanese geisha timeless brands in here. I've been reading a book called Shoe Dog that I love, and it opens with this quote. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. I was not an expert to start off with. I still don't think I'm an expert now because everything is changing so quickly. But as a result, we see everything as opportunity and everything is possible. And I think with digital technology, everything is possible. So here are a few of the things that we've learned, and they've actually become our value statements for our company. And I hope that they can be remotely helpful to you. So the first one is authenticity. I think that digital media lays you bare, and you cannot fake the funk anymore. And if you are spinning marketing untruths, they will find out in 10 seconds flat. On the flip side, if you are telling a truth, and every great brand has its own truth, with digital media and social media, you get to share it in a way that people could never really appreciate before. So we show people Kyoto, we show them how we're making our formulas as it's coming along. And they're also interested in things that are outside of just our formulations and our products. So they love Toeda-san. Remember him, the driver? They love this monk that I meditate with. I'm sure it's not because he's handsome. They love when I spend time with geisha, which is still every quarter, and we work with about a dozen of them at any given time. There's one on my team, actually. And they love to see what her life is like and to be a part of another world that feels so exotic and yet so much like our own. One of my favorite things to do is when I go to sleep at night, hand my phone over to a geisha and say, take over my Snapchat account while I sleep. And I wake up in the morning and there's this big adventure that I missed. Human connection. I think that this is timeless, and beauty is such an intimate space that it's such a wonderful way to connect with people at such a deep level. So something cool started happening is as we started talking to our clients, they started talking back. These are just a few responses that I get in my Snapchat account. So we've got Instagram, Facebook, and we use them all for different ways, but Snapchat is where I get all of my engagement and feedback and ideas. And I keep my inbox open and I manage it myself. Our e-commerce site is still our single biggest channel to us, and every email that goes to info@tatcha.com also comes to me directly, so that I can see every single day what people love, what they don't love. I love what Trang was saying about it's not about talking to people, it's about having this constant conversation nonstop. So they show me everything, what they like, what they love, what they're confused about, what else they're using, what they look like when they wake up in the morning, and they talk, and they talk, and they talk. And so it is an incredible way, I found, to make sure that you're always doing things that feel right to the client by never being far from her. got a really nice compliment the other day from our very first marketer in the company. We're about 7 years old now, but we didn't have any marketers in the company until about 6 months ago. And she said, I think that you've got amazing instincts. And I said, I don't have any instincts. I just talk to them nonstop. Shojin, so dedication to a life's work. I believe, because of my time in Japan, in the beauty of a life's work. If you go to Kyoto, if you go to Japan, you'll meet people who've been doing the same thing for 14 generations. And they're already the best in the world at what they do. And then when they wake up in the morning, they think about how they can be better. So we never do competitive benchmarking. I never look at what anybody else is doing. I don't like to see it because it clouds my mind. Instead, I think of every single piece that we put out as a promise and a treasure and a piece of art. And I don't think that luxury is something that we get to dictate to people anymore. I don't think that we get to say, this is luxury, therefore you pay this. I think that what you can do is you put your full heart and soul into what you create, and they will tell you if they think it's luxury level. And we believe in surprising and delighting and making sure that even something as simple as a body cream or a body soap, it has to have magic, and it should be a work of art. They should be delighted, and it should make their day more magical, because that's what beauty is. And then finally, joy. So every single full-size purchase from Tatcha funds a day of school for a girl in a developing country through our partnership with an organization called Room to Read. They operate in 11 countries, Africa, Southeast Asia, and they have made our work so meaningful. And what we found is that there's really no greater joy than being a part of something bigger than yourself, and also that there's nothing more beautiful than a beautiful mind. And our clients expect this of us, and I think that they expect it of all of us in this room, that we give back, that we are authentic, that we do try our best, and that we take care of others. So thank you very much for making this one little girl's dream come true. And that's it. Oh, I have one other thing. So on the, we were not supposed to bring our phones up here, but I was telling our clients ahead of time that I was doing this talk, and I was super nervous, and they were excited that you guys were all in this room, so I thought we could snap together for a second. Can we do that? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to turn around, and everybody say hi. Hi, everybody! We're doing our talk. We made it. Okay. And that's Snapchat. So, any questions?
All right, great. Thank you very much. I'll hit you with a couple. We've got a few duplicates here. Just for starters, what does Tatcha mean?
Tatcha is short for Tachibana, but nobody can spell that or say that. Tachibana is the art of a single standing flower in Japan, and it's one of the classical arts. It comes from Ikebana. And it invites you to realize how beautiful something is when you strip away the excess.
Excellent. And then how do you feel about outside investment? Have you considered taking money?
That's a popular question these days. We are largely self-financed to date, and we have some wonderful individual angel investors who've been incredible mentors to me, like Leslie Blodgett. So that's where we are right now.
And then have you thought about bringing any services to your brand? Do you provide any services?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have a facial at the Ritz in Half Moon Bay, and also at the Kyoto Four Seasons. And I do hope one day that we can bring Tatcha to life in a more 360 way. I think that so much of bringing a brand to life is making it fully dimensional, like a human being. So I hope that we can do that one day. We don't have plans right now, but I would love that.
And then, yep.
That was a great presentation, Vicki.
Thank you.
So you're launching Color. Can you talk about where Color fits in with the strategic vision and how you see the brand growing?
Oh, that's a really great question. There's 3 volumes and 7 chapters to the book that inspires everything for us, so Color is definitely one of them. If you look at geisha, they do everything, so one day there will be everything. We just started testing. We use our website as an innovation lab to see what people like, what they don't like, what works, what doesn't work. So we launched a red lipstick a couple years ago, and it was meant to be a limited edition, and it blew out. So then we started doing one little lipstick a year. Mostly it's just kind of a surprise and delight for our clients. What I learned recently is that people really, really, really like pink lipstick. And they crashed our website and sold it out in minutes. We thought it was going to last a month. And then they got really angry when it disappeared so quickly. So we're still trying to figure out where color fits into our strategy. We know it has to be there, but the demand is far bigger than I thought. So I need to figure that out. That's my homework next week.
It was an extraordinarily inspiring story.
Thank you so much.
It was very, very spiritual, much more than you usually encounter.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to somebody who is starting out with a very personal vision like that and was basically trying to establish it in the market and getting financing and distribution and bringing their personal vision into this world?
Oh, that's a great question. One, read Women's Wear Daily. I didn't have any friends who had started beauty companies or many entrepreneur friends when I started. So I read Women's Wear Daily like the Bible to understand how the business worked. I think events like this are incredible if you can get in, obviously, to meet the people here. When we were starting out, we said, we believe that digital will drive beauty in the future. We believe that there is interest in an Eastern approach to wellness. People were not terribly interested. I think we were a few years earlier than the trend. Right now, though, what I'm finding is that there's lots and lots and lots of financing available. If anything, there's too much available. So financing for anybody with a good idea should be easy. Distribution, I think that the retail partners have been incredible. Sephora, QVC, Barney's, they from the beginning said, I believe in you. So I think it's about sequencing, but I also think it's about internal consistency. I think that your financing strategy has to match, your recruiting strategy has to match your distribution strategy so that things don't get out of kilter. Did I answer your question? Thanks.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, where are you?
Right in front of you.
In the back.
Hello.
Hello. There is nothing more wonderful than hearing somebody tell their story of a brand and strip everything back, and all we saw is your heartbeat. Don't ever change your story. It's so powerful and so wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
But I have two questions. What is the product we all need to look like a geisha? Because I want it. And secondly, what do geishas smell of?
That's a great question. Okay, so, all right, let's get into this. Ready? So, can I click back to the presentation a second? Is it possible to go backwards to the picture where she has her makeup on? So the single most important thing that they do is the way they cleanse their skin. Oftentimes we think about cleansing in the Western world as a throwaway step, but what they have to do to take off their makeup, and also, so the way that they get that white makeup off is they have to use cleansing oil. And so always, always, always make sure you get the makeup off with whatever cleanser that you use. After that, they have a wax primer underneath, and so they have to exfoliate every day. But they don't exfoliate with scrubs and nut husks the way that we used to. They exfoliate with rice enzymes. And so we have a rice enzyme powder that has crushed pearls, and it just disappears all of the dullness and the deadness on the skin, which helps with the rate of desquamation, which helps with the rate of synthesis. And so, whether it's pore size or wrinkles or all that kind of stuff, when we did clinical studies on just the cleansers alone, these two together, it was 100% improvement in pores, 100% improvement in fine lines and wrinkles, 100% improvement in the texture and tone of skin within 1, 2, and 4 weeks, the kinds of things that you would expect from a luxury anti-aging face cream. So you just have to cleanse properly first and foremost. I do think an essence is key. I was hugely anti-essence. In fact, I said no to essences for 7 years because I pay myself $12,000 a year and I buy my own products. So I have to make sure that they're affordable to me. And I was like, I don't think an essence does anything, even though it was really core to the ritual of beauty waters. And then we developed one, and it was a complete game changer for me. I couldn't believe. So those three, I think, are really, really key. And what do they smell like? So geishas and Japanese people overall don't tend to wear perfumes, but they do bathe nonstop. So they take a bath and then they take a shower. No, they take a shower and then they take a bath, and usually twice a day. So they smell so clean. But the other thing that they do is those kimonos, they will sometimes kind of use like an incense to keep the kimono smelling fresh. And they usually smell like this combination of like a very light incense and then almost like a baby powder that is the smell of that white makeup. They smell like babies, honestly. I love that question. Any others?
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how you think Tatcha has sort of been able to successfully, quote unquote, own some of the Asian beauty trends in a way that I think something like Shiseido or Amore Pacific or SK2 haven't. You alluded it's not K-beauty, and yet seems to even be thought of in that light.
That's a great question. I can't say that we own it because these rituals and ingredients have been around for thousands of years. I think that we're just really lucky that we get to tell the stories of what makes them real. So many times these days when I talk to clients, they don't care what something does until they understand why you're doing it. I think why matters far more than what. So if you say, use this cleansing oil, it's going to dissolve the makeup off your face because like dissolves like, I don't really get that. But then when you say, this is what a geisha looks like without makeup on, this is what she looks like with makeup on, and that's how you get it off, the kitchen logic starts clicking for them. So I can't say that we own it, and I also think that we have been fortunate enough to stand on the shoulders of giants, the big companies here that you guys created all the magic to begin with. All we're doing these days is getting to learn from the big companies and use technology and speed to adapt when we learn. So that's the biggest thing. And because we have our own e-commerce site, but we also have the benefit of learning from Sephora, we have the benefit of learning from QVC. QVC can tell second by second what's making people interested and not interested. We're constantly going back and evolving how we're explaining things to people. So we're constantly changing our product pages and our descriptions and our how-to videos. I'm testing things out on Snapchat all the time. When we first launched the Essence, I went on Snapchat and I explained the Essence 7 different ways. And then I said, which one made sense to you? And then okay. And we went back, okay, so this is what we put in the campaign. That makes sense. So it's just learning. We're just learning. Anything else?
First, wonderful story, and you're a wonderful storyteller, and in the best sense.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering, have you envisioned how you're going to be able to keep your, well, almost quality of life as you grow, because you won't be able to personally read, I wouldn't imagine, every single snap and every single interaction, and so. How do you maintain that essence as you continue to grow?
I love that question. Intimacy, I think, is very, very, very scalable. And I think hiring for people who have the same value system and understand that the client is the only reason we exist is the way that we scale. Also, when we were in my garage and we were tiny, we invested in a CRM system, NetSuite, from the beginning. And so every single customer interaction that we've ever had, every order, every phone call, every email, with the exception of a snap, for example, is logged in through there. And we have a customer care team that we actually call Customer Love. It started because I called them customer lovers, and it just made me laugh, but the name stuck. And their only job is to love our customers. They are not incentivized to upsell, cross-sell. In fact, if I think somebody's using too much, I say you're using too much and do a refund on it because they're using too much. It's less is more. And so they're just as happy to talk to Simon as they are to Michael as they are to talk to me. They develop relationships with all of them. And then every single full-size purchase, or any purchase that comes through our website, because of our CRM system, we can see their lifetime value. We have tags if we know anything about them. And so we can customize their packages as they go out. So when people get their packages, they do their unboxings and they put them on the internet. And when it says, Dear Megan, I hope that your graduation went well. I love face masks for a special day. Enjoy this. Even though they haven't talked to me personally and I never saw it, the technology allows that level of care and intimacy and omotenashi to be highly, highly scalable. So part of it is culture and part of it is technology. But my greatest joy is being with the clients and also in creating the collection. So if I ever lose that part of my job, that's where my joy will be gone. you.